welcome and well done for getting here so promptly off the bus. We're running half an hour late, for those of you who haven't worked that out already. So this 90-minute session will run through until 6 o'clock, and then you can make your way, should you want to, straight to the bowling club, which is next door to the campus, and there's a few people in the room who will be able to help you find the way for the book launch with drinks and things afterwards, or to do whatever it is that you want to do afterwards. But I'm here to welcome and introduce your panel who are speaking about the Y Connect project. Julie Dunn, Penny Bundy, Linda Hassel, Natalie Lazarou, Adrian Jones and Sanaz. Thank you so much for coming to share your practice with us at IDERI.
And can we just please ask that you don't take any photographs of the photographs, because for ethical reasons we have clearance to share them at the conference, but we don't have clearance for them to be shared in any way. So we do ask that you respect the young people's consent levels. Okay. So today we're going to share with you some aspects of our shared Y Connect journey.
Y Connect was a 3-year government-funded research partnership between Yoronga State High School and Griffith University in Brisbane.
The funding was provided by the Queensland Government's Collaborative Innovation Fund.
The project began in 2016 and data collection has almost concluded.
Y Connect saw artists, teachers and researchers collaborating to understand the impact of employing arts-infused pedagogies across the curriculum. With a strong emphasis on partnerships, the project has indeed been a highly collaborative one, involving rich collaborations between students, teachers and students and teachers, students and artists, artists and researchers, between teachers and researchers, and perhaps most importantly of all, between artists and teachers.
Key art organisations in Brisbane have also been involved as partners, adding further combinations to the various collaborations.
But before we go too much further, we'd like to begin by offering some information about our various roles in Y Connect. And before we do that, I'd also like to let you know something about the structure for our session. So we're going to present in this choral speaking mode for about 20 minutes to introduce the project. Then we're going to give you some time to have a quick chat about what we've just talked about. Then we're going to break into 3 sessions then, which is a section on artists, a section on teachers, and a section on the responses of the students. And after each of those sections, we'll give you some time to chat to each other and come up with some questions. So,
Which you won't have time to ask.
yeah. So, I'm Julie Dunn and I lead the research team. I've also been involved in the project as a teaching artist.
I'm Sanaz and I am a teacher at Yoronga State High. I have been involved as a teaching artist and a co-researcher.
I'm Linda Hassel and I have been involved as an artist and a researcher.
I'm Natalie Lazarou and like Linda, I've been both an artist and a researcher.
And I'm Penny Bundy. I was an artist teacher working on the project in 2017 and was also the research team leader in the early years of this extended study.
Now, not with us today, but of key importance to our work are Madonna Stinson and Adrian Jones. And Madonna Stinson is a member of the research team and leads 2 of the case studies. She's also participated as a teaching artist. Adrian Jones, who was announced but isn't with us, is the Yoronga State High School Head of Performing Arts. She's been involved as a teaching artist and a co-researcher on the project and has been responsible for all the day-to-day running of the Y Connect sessions, including the challenging task of matching artists with projects and doing the finances. Y Connect is also the focus of her PhD studies.
Today we are going to share with you only part of our Y Connect story. This is because Y Connect is a multi-arts project incorporating music, dance, visual arts, media, and other arts disciplines. But here at IDERI, we have chosen to focus mainly on the drama component of the project.
The project has been huge,
Enormous.
Complex.
And exciting.
Let's start by sharing with you some information about this fantastic school.
Now, Yoronga State High School is an independent public school in the eastern suburbs of Brisbane. The 733 students come from 62 different backgrounds, with 75% of them having a language background other than English. Countries of origin include
Afghanistan,
Côte d'Ivoire,
Democratic Republic of Congo,
Eritrea,
Iran,
Kenya,
Liberia,
Pakistan,
Rwanda,
Somalia,
South Africa,
Sudan,
Tanzania,
Togo.
Uganda.
and Australia.
The young people who come to the school come from local, refugee, asylum-seeking and immigrant backgrounds.
The visa subclasses of the new arrivals include refugee, women at risk, and global special humanitarian entrants.
Okay, news flash. There's an extra little bit written in here which the team don't know about. So, for this reason, we feel that our project very well fits the theme of this conference. For these young people have indeed faced the tyranny of distance. But in this case, it's the distance of being separated from their homes and cultures, distance from their languages and traditions, and from their ways of knowing. Our work in Y Connect is being aimed then at supporting their transition journeys, which for some have included time in real rather than symbolic leaky boats. So, let's move on.
Many students arrive at the school with low-level literacy, low confidence, and or cultural barriers, all of which inhibit their ability to engage with the school and with the broader community.
Yoonga State High School also has a high proportion of students from a low socioeconomic background, including those Anglo-Australians who attend the school. The school has an ICSIA score, which is the Index of Sociocultural Advantage, of 887, which is significantly below 1,000, which is the Australian average.
In addition, 69% of the school population is in the bottom quartile compared to an Australian average of 25%.
Without targeted programs, many of the asylum seeking and other students from low socioeconomic backgrounds struggle for various reasons to connect with learning, and because of this may fail to achieve academic and subsequent further learning success.
Language, literacy, numeracy, trans or intercultural awareness and well-being have all been identified as areas that could be enhanced.
However, these statistics and this description do not tell the whole story, and in fact tend to mask the truth about Yoonga State High School, which is that this school is a highly positive place, where in spite of,
or perhaps because of, the many cultural and social differences between students,
there is a strong level of cohesion and it is mostly a very happy place.
Kathleen Noonan, a Brisbane journalist, was recently invited to sit in on a drama session at Yoonga State High in order to create an article about the Y Connect project and its partnership with the Queensland Performing Arts Centre. She wrote,
Looking at these students, laughing, warm and quietly articulate, it's clear they have more ultimate tensile strength than the Sydney Harbour Bridge. What a nation-building resource they are. Thanks, Kathleen.
The Y Connect project was born out of a small, unfunded pilot project, which began with Julie and I working in partnership with Adrienne and Sanaz, and with a small group of highly vulnerable, newly arrived students from a refugee background.
Just in time, the Queensland Department of Education and Training announced the Collaborative Innovation Fund, which was specifically designed to extend and enrich upon the work of existing partnerships, especially those with a research component. It was clearly a perfect fit for us and our work.
So, with a level of bravery that surprised those of us who have been jaded by years of research funding knockbacks and reductions, the former head of arts, Gordon Collis, the staff and the Griffith team applied for the highest available level of funding and were successful.
the eventual design of the collaboration focused on the application of arts-infused pedagogies across the curriculum, delivered by a combination of artists, artist teachers, and artist researchers.
Okay, but why connect and why connectedness?
Jose, Ryan and Pryor indicate consensus among researchers that a sense of connectedness is a basic psychological need and that there are positive outcomes when this need is fulfilled.
And Antonish has examined belonging as a component of connectedness and argues that feelings of belonging to a place, called place belongingness, are closely linked to self-formation. He identifies 5 factors that contribute to place belongingness.
Autobiographical, personal experiences and memories attached to a specific place.
Relational, the personal and social ties.
Cultural and economic, including safe and stable material conditions.
And legal, including citizenship and residency permits.
For many of our students, one or more of these points of place belongingness are absent.
We can't do much about the economic,
or the legal,
Although we have tried.
but we hoped that our project might support the other factors and that connectedness and belonging might achieve what McCaw and others found.
That school connectedness is linked to lower levels of anxiety and depression in year 12 students, especially those at risk.
Okay, but why the arts?
In 1912, Catterall and others examined 4 longitudinal studies on the arts and achievement with at-risk youth. They indicate that at-risk youth who engaged deeply in the arts tended to fare better on a range of academic and civic behavioural measures than their peers who lacked this level of arts engagement.
In Victoria, Angela O'Brien and Kate Donnellan's Risky Business showed that arts programs can have a significant and positive impact on marginalised young people.
More specifically to drama and the Yeronga students, Ruggerello and Matuk found that performance and drama workshops were effective in promoting multicultural awareness, helping to stimulate students' critical thinking and of the importance of respecting and accepting others of a different culture.
So let's turn to our research approach now. In our research approach, both qualitative and quantitative data sources are being used to address 3 overarching research questions and to inform 6 case studies. In terms of balance across these paradigms, however, the emphasis is placed on qualitative data sources.
3 questions drive the research.
1. How has participation in this project impacted on the young people involved?
2. What factors have enabled and constrained the success of the project?
3. What further impacts, if any, have occurred within and beyond the school community, including but not confined to impact on teachers, community members and artists?
6 case studies were designed to address these questions.
Case study 1 was designed to explore the overarching impact of the Y Connect project on belonging and connectedness.
Case study 2 examines the value and impact of having artists in arts classrooms. Here we have engaged visiting artists to work alongside arts teachers.
Case study 3 focuses on using arts-based pedagogies, sometimes delivered by artists, to teach English, especially with young people who have English as an additional language or dialect.
Case study 4 involved small groups of Year 10 students who were new arrivals, using drama-based approaches to learning English.
Case study 5 focused on the teaching of mathematics in the middle years. Here, dancers and choreographers have worked alongside maths teachers to adopt movement-based approaches.
Case study 6 involves selected Year 11 and 12 students who worked with me and artist teachers from within the school. This was a continuation of the original project that saw us gain the funding and involved a specially timetabled class made up of students from particularly challenging backgrounds.
So what did all of this look like when all 6 case studies were in action? A typical Y Connect week in 2016 and 2017 usually involved 10 or more sessions delivered across the curriculum. In fact, 275 sessions were delivered in 2017 alone. So far, 16 artists, 5 academics and 17 teaching artists from within the school have been involved.
The Y Connect students have worked with Brisbane artist Anna Yen to create happiness clowns.
Maths students have worked with Liesl Zink solving algebraic equations using dance.
And with young Brisbane actor Zach Bolton on everything from monologues, improvisation and acting skills to writing and performing their own stories and ideas.
Year 10 Essential English students have engaged in process drama lessons co-taught by the teacher and I, while Julie and Adrienne have explored a range of dramatic approaches trying to find points of connection to advance the English skills of one
Particularly challenging group of Year 8 students.
Did you survive?
Only just.
Some have trained with circus artists on a weekly basis and performed at the Judith Wright Centre, a local contemporary arts venue. One has undertaken a training scheme with Opera Queensland, while another has worked on a playwriting project with the Queensland Theatre. The students have attended several live theatre events at the Queensland Performing Arts Centre, while all the EALD students have both visited Le Bois Theatre and had visits from their artists.
The performing arts students have collaborated with Natalie and I to present a performance entitled Dust, while a promenade theatre performance entitled Inner Outer Space was also developed through a partnership with other artists.
Inner Outer Space was directed by Dan Evans and Nerida Mathai and involved over 120 students and 7 teachers.
What was exciting about that project was that each component of the event came from curriculum work as part of the regular school program.
Last week, we delivered our final performance project, a contemporary version of Romeo and Juliet that also saw artists and teachers collaborating with students across age groups and drama experiences.
Apart from working from individual artists, across the project we have also worked hard to develop strong partnerships with a range of arts organisations like La Boîte.
From the start, Y Connect has built a strong relationship with La Boîte Theatre Company through Claire Christian.
Claire, La Boîte's youth and participation producer, has run workshops, created a performance, and acted as a bridge between the company and the school.
And now, in 2018, with additional funding through MDA, the Multicultural Development Association, we are working with Claire to develop a legacy project. This will culminate in a performance privileging the voices of our students.
In relation to this partnership, we are currently asking ourselves new questions.
How can a theatre company be inclusive of a school and make the students feel part of the hub and energy at La Boîte?
How can it provide a different way of being and doing in Brisbane?
How can it build upon the existing creative capital of our culturally diverse students?
One decision we made early on was to take a large group of students to La Boîte's interactive performance called The Village. This performance tells the journey stories of 5 refugees who came to Australia, including one ex-Yeronga State High School student who was originally from Afghanistan. We had concerns about this decision. Did our students, many of whom had traumatic stories of resettlement themselves, need to be reminded of the complexity and strain of being a refugee?
The students, especially those from a refugee background, all loved it. They felt validated and included.
They also were engaged by the art form. The first question at the end
Was, how do I do this? How do I become a part of all this? It was a question from a student from an asylum-seeking background.
Based on these responses, we felt the need to connect further and deeper.
Claire and Adrienne devised a series of visitations involving 5 EALD classes with students who were having particular problems with adapting to English in Year 10. The aim was to make students feel at home at a theatre company and promote confidence in speaking and to help students emerge from the passive states witnessed in some classrooms.
The plan was simple. We took the students to La Boîte, and with Claire and 2 young actors, Jessie Men and Peter Arankunda, we shared workshops related to the current curriculum, some of it on the set of the play that was currently being performed at La Boîte.
The outcomes were very positive. The students loved being somewhere different and having the chance to play in a theatre.
And interestingly, some of the quiet ones wrote later about wanting to be artists and how inspired they were by meeting the young actors that were part of the project. The experience made them feel they could be part of the arts.
One Year 8 journal recorded this reflection. It made me feel like I could be an artist and write a story with the good and the bad in it.
The partnership with La Boîte has been rich, significant and continues to evolve. We look forward to the legacy project and identifying its impacts later this year.
Another partner is QPAC, Queensland Performing Arts Centre. Y Connect has had a strong relationship with the Queensland Performing Arts Centre, with students also receiving complimentary tickets to shows as diverse as My Fair Lady, Expressions Dance Company, Raw Dance and other shows.
Students have been invited to before performance functions and participated in workshops.
The staff have also benefited from professional development sessions.
These initiatives have allowed our students and our school community to feel a part of the peak performing arts organisation in Brisbane.
And to feel a lot of joy, the students literally danced out of QPAC after My Fair Lady.
While we had some reservations about taking newly arrived refugee students to see a show like My Fair Lady, the Joseph show ended up being quite interesting, with the students actually identifying very strongly with an impoverished, socially excluded young woman who was struggling to learn proper English.
They enjoyed being there, and one student told us,
I realised that there were so many jobs involved in this place. It has all come together.
The connection to QPAC has also enlarged the world vision of the students in complicated and obvious ways. In the words of one student,
We get to talk to other people.
There have also been outcomes for QPAC. At the performances, the audience are usually overwhelmingly white, middle-aged, middle-class women.
The Y Connect students do not fit this profile.
What can QPAC and its audiences learn from them?
We are all gaining from talking to other people.
Is this the building of reciprocal cultural capital in action?
another successful partnership was with Circus. The international circus company based in Brisbane is now part of Y Connect.
We have found that some of our most disengaged students went to challenge themselves, and the circus ethos seems to have benefited them in multiple ways.
The partnership with Circa has grown and evolved.
In 2016 and 17, the group of 12 to 15 circus students have performed at the Judith Wright Centre. Once again, a close relationship has been forged.
Circus allows the students to feel special.
In a positive way,
Challenged and artistic.
Importantly, they are part of a team, and their attention and regard for team skills is vital.
Finally, our partnership with Opera Queensland has also been very rich and has resulted in new funding to extend and develop our collaboration. This new funding will commence later this year and will enable our students to work with Opera Queensland artists to create a performance about hope and belonging.
Legacy projects such as this one and the one with the Boite are really exciting, as they will allow some of this rich work to continue.
Now this all sounds very sexy and glamorous, partnerships with QPAC, Le Boite and Circa, but in reality the arts partnership work is just a tiny portion of what Y Connect is really all about.
Because at its heart, Y Connect is all about art-based pedagogies in everyday classrooms, every day of the week.
With the usual classroom characteristics.
Unsexy.
Unglamorous.
Ordinary classroom.
it's about the EALD teacher working with the actor Zach Bolton on a Tuesday morning to lift their oral language skills.
It's about the maths teacher working alongside the dancer to infuse maths with movement.
It's about the English teacher modifying their normal unit plans to include a process drama designed to enhance writing.
It's about the teachers, after school, attending PD and working with the performing arts class in their own time.
It's about much more than cultural organisations.
It's about grassroots creative capital working alongside the big end of town cultural capital.
So how is all this complexity being captured? Spreadsheets. Lots of them, complex ones, tracking artists, student participation, teacher involvement, achievement standards, standardised testing results, attendance and behaviour.
It also involves interviews with artists, teachers, students and admin team members, lots of them across the various stages of the project.
It also includes a survey administered at the start of the program and again just last week at its conclusion.
A key part of our analysis will be to track the journeys of particular students in detail. Students we refer to as the red dot and the blue dot students.
We've designated those students who've engaged across multiple activities and multiple years as the red dot students. We want to see the impact of on them of engagement with lots of arts practices across a range of curriculum areas.
Our blue dot students are different. These are the students who appear to be experiencing a strong upward trajectory in learning outcomes, behaviour, attitude, self-efficacy, or importantly, their vision for future career pathways. These have been identified by teachers or through early phase interviews.
The Blue Dot kids really excite us, for they're teaching us to be open to the unexpected.
And it gives us great joy to hear them articulate the impact of the project on their attitudes, interests, motivation and futuring, as Maxine Green would say.
So that includes our introduction to the Y Connect project. So we're going to move on a little bit to hear first of all from Sanaz about what the impact has been on the teachers. But before we do that, you might like to spend a couple of minutes just talking to people around you about whether you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make in relation to this first introduction. Okay, we'll give you a quick time to chat. Anyone with a quick question? Ginny?
Well, I think you might be asking my question by getting there, because I was just interested in teachers who are very heavily siloed in high schools, and this is my area. I just wondered how they weave with getting on board with arts.
Okay, so
I'm thinking about my own teachers in my own school just going,
Yeah. Hold that thought because Sanaz is going to share the teacher's perspectives. Any other questions about the scope or the... Yeah.
We're not clear. The blue dot and the red dot. Are the red dots the case studies and the blue dot?
No. So the red dot kids are anyone across all 6 case studies. They may have been in multiple case studies. So they may be a kid who's been in circus, in English classes, in the maths classroom, in the performing arts club, in music, in dance. So they've had lots of exposure across the 3 years of the project. The blue dot kids are the ones that we've identified, or the teachers have identified, or they've self-identified through the interviews that we've already done, who are saying, this has changed something for me. Okay, so they're not...
red and a blue, could you be a purple?
Oh no, there's lots. The blues are, some of the blues are also
I
reds.
assume, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but some of the reds are just reds and some of the blues are just blues. So they might have only worked with a couple of artists and it's had a huge impact on them. Yeah.
I had a question about, in the very beginning, you all said that the school had a very low, I don't remember what.
Socioeconomic index.
Okay, socioeconomic index. It sounds like the wrong metrics were being used because it was because of connectedness. Is the study that you're doing changing the way the school's being assessed in those other countries?
No, because the school is always going to be assessed on the socioeconomic.
So even with the socio part?
It's really, it should just be called the economic index.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
it's actually just about the incomes of that suburb. Interestingly, Yeronga sits in the middle of a quite affluent part of Brisbane, but it is it's kids, because it's on the train line, kids come from all over Brisbane, including some of the kids that were in the latest Romeo and Juliet. The teachers were driving them home to Capera, which is on the other side of Brisbane. And by the way, just for those people who are not from Australia, some of these children are in community detention. So they don't have full residency status, so they're actually in community detention. So you might want to we can talk about that later. So let's move on to Sanaz. So we'll give you a chance to ask more questions at the end of each section. Thanks, Sanaz. I'm just going to change the slides.
This section of the presentation was developed in collaboration with Madonna Stinson, who, as noted earlier, is not here with us, but is the leader of 2 of the case studies that form this project, including the Artists in Arts Classrooms case study. For the purpose of this section of the presentation, we draw on 14 interviews with teachers, and additional interviews are planned and are still to be analysed. So this interpretation is offered as point in time, with acknowledgement that our emphasis and understandings may shift as we continue to delve into the data. This first cut analysis of our data offers some interesting emergent findings. Here we will share just 3 of the emergent key themes. 1, stirring things up or working differently. 2, teacher-student relationships. And 3, teacher-artist relationships. So the first theme, stirring things up. Pringle has described the work of artists in classrooms as stirring things up. Harding uses the term creating magic moments, while Bamford suggests that artists create wow factors. In this study, we choose to use the term doing things differently, with the things done differently ranging from changing classroom layouts, engaging more specifically on emotions in the learning, seeing the artist as a positive role model for students, to even changing assessment processes. For non-arts teachers, a significant difference was the way active and embodied pedagogies and different ways of using space made the practice remarkable. One Year 9 English teacher commented on how including drama strategies changed the energy. She went on to say that this was evident in the fact that they're standing up and the classroom has been reorganized, desks pushed to the side, and it's all new. Another was surprised at the level of engagement that the drama activities had produced, commenting, "We're actually seeing growth, quiet. They calm down, a sort of peaceful moment, and forgetting about the fact that they're in school, in a classroom." It was really a genuine moment of engagement that I will never forget. A further point of difference is valuing the role of emotion, with one teacher stating, "It allowed them, the students, to have the voice about something that they wouldn't have necessarily had in the past. if you were just reading and writing. So certainly the emotional side of things is turning for the brighter. Teachers were also so enthusiastic about the positive response of the students to having artists in the classroom. One teacher commented, "They thought he was the coolest thing since sliced bread." This quote refers to Zach Bolton, who has become known as our school actor. The project has attempted to include artists from diverse cultural backgrounds who work in various forms. One young African playwright from a refugee background has been particularly impactful, one in which teacher enthusiastically reported her students' comment as, and he says, "Miss, I'm going to be like that man." Really positive. I don't think we've got those role models in our school. And I think the value of that for our kids is just indescribable. I think getting more people in is so important. I don't even care who they are. They don't have to be arts people, but people that they can relate to, that are similar to them, that they can say, "This is me." Having artists involved in the teaching also seems to have impacted on how teachers perceive assessment, another example of doing things differently. Whilst the teacher was bound to adhere to predetermined assessment tasks, in some cases at least, the change in pedagogical practice produced an awareness that perhaps assessment too should be modified. One teacher noted that her experience led her to consider changing assessment to better reflect the learning that had taken place. She reflected on her own curriculum processes as follows: developing the assessment, marking the assessment, looking back on the assessment and going, "Oh well, I should do this differently. I would do this differently." Teacher-students relationships. Reporting on a series of artist-teacher partnerships in the UK, friends and others noted a shift towards active and experiential learning, and also a sense of a shift in teacher-student relations, a sense of co-learning, one in which action is more fully articulated with thinking and feeling. As Fryer also notes, through the dialogue that is created between the artists and the teachers in the classroom, the teacher of the students and the students of the teacher cease to exist, and a new term emerges. The teacher is no longer merely the one who teaches, but one who is himself or herself taught in dialogue with the students, who in their turn, while being taught, also teach. They become jointly responsible for a process in which all of them grow. In our study, changes in teacher-student relationships were frequently mentioned as well. One teacher reported how valuable it was for her to participate alongside the students and how this shifted the dynamic of her relationship with her students. She quotes, "Well, for a start, they were able to see me as a participant, just like they are a participant because I am. When Zach asks for a story, I'll give him a personal story as well. And so they're seeing me as a human being, not just as a big bad teacher. So it's actually nice to have somebody else facilitate that. So for a change, I can just be another participant." Just as some teachers found the partnership an opportunity for the students to look upon them with new perspective, others found the partnership with an artist permitted them to step back from their own teaching duties and observe the students' engagement. This led to many seeing the learners in new ways. For example, I actually have seen a lot of good things from my kids that I haven't before. It's sides that I haven't seen from them before, which is the biggest improvement for me. It's wonderful. Teacher-artist relationships. This theme relates to the important relationship between artists and teachers. Literature on the one hand suggests that the inclusion of artists may raise the potential of devaluing teacher expertise. Ironically, it also confirms that the inclusion of artists may provide a convenient excuse for classroom teachers to remain unskilled or become further de-skilled in teaching arts education. On the other hand, others suggest that from engagements in partnerships with artists, teachers learn new techniques and gain new intellectual insights from working with the artists and vice versa. The same twofold reaction to this relationship was also reflected in our interviews with teachers. Being involved in the project and working in partnership with artists was considered an extra burden by some teachers, especially when there was a mismatch between the work undertaken by the artist and the teacher's focus. The only thing was that I found the activities didn't suit what I wanted. Students thoroughly enjoyed it and it certainly helped them bring them out of their shells, but I wanted a bit more for when we are given such a short time frame that we've got to deal with. One teacher also pointed out that his concerns related to just the fact that we, the teachers, are familiar with what the curriculum is asking us and what our end result should look like. These comments highlight the pressure of the curriculum and the possibilities for tensions to emerge when the artist's practices and curriculum intent of the teacher do not quite align. This points to the importance of pre-planning and shared understandings of goals on behalf of both the teachers and the artists. Perhaps one of the reasons for the early reluctance may be a lack of confidence of teachers in incorporating drama-based pedagogies. That just puts me out of my comfort zone, which is a lesson. Not always a good feeling, but by the same token, I think it could really bring great outcomes for the kids. So I think that's a good thing. Of course, other teachers were really excited to be involved too. For example, one teacher said, I was interested to become involved with it because it's something new and it's something different and it's hands-on for the kids, which I think is really valuable for this cohort and these types of students who can sometimes struggle with more traditional forms of learning. And I think it's a very exciting opportunity. A key ingredient for successful partnerships was creating the right fit between the artist and the teacher. Sometimes it just did not work. He, the artist, was very entertaining, however, not as focused, I think, and certainly that diminished the drama workshops. On the other hand, sometimes the partnerships did work and it was fantastic. With one teacher describing the work of another artist, I think he, the artist, is just down to earth. He's quite real. Students have no problem approaching him. Also the fact that he would just be walking around the walkway and he sees a classroom or a group of students that he's taught. He'll just knock on the door and say, hi guys, how are you going? The positive relationship engendered by this young artist emerged from a genuine interest in the students at school. Many teachers reported feeling happier about the learning that was taking place in their classes, including the fact that the artist was introducing new techniques or ways of working. Those who were teaching drama found the artist revived their practice or gave them new ideas. One said, for me being a drama teacher as well, the main benefit has been a fresh set of skills. Yeah, so just reinvigorating my toolkit as well. Yet another supported the relationship as a form of professional development, noting the authenticity of the artist's work. When he's giving them feedback on their acting skills, because that's obviously where he's got so much knowledge. In my head I'm going, oh wow, I wouldn't have thought to give them that advice or have put it in that way. You know, that's great, yeah. I'm always open, learning from him, from what he's got to say. Interestingly, teachers who had longer-term partnerships with artists found that they settled better into their relationships and were able to work in more consultative and collaborative ways. Although discussing art and design curriculum overall, our findings seem to be reflective of those identified by Page, Adams and Hyde, who note that the strength lies in the development of communities of practice and peer support. Artist teachers renewed confidence in their extended artistic and pedagogical practices and the professional development of artist teachers. Artist-teacher cooperation seems to be a strong tool in developing better social behaviour and through it a positive learning climate and interaction skills for our students.
Thank you. Thanks, Naz. So, let's have a quick chat to each other. Do you have any questions for Sanaz about teachers? Okay, thanks everyone. Hello. Does anyone have any questions for Sanaz or anyone else about teachers? Any questions, comments? Ginny, did that answer your questions or not?
Yes, I was just wondering why the teachers, if they already knew their non-traditional ways of working, why they were pursuing those and were suddenly surprised when an artist did something different. Like, it seems like mysterious.
But not surprising, really.
No, exactly.
Yes,
But
it's
still-
sad, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have teachers who, can they, if they feel as though they're upskilled enough, can fly solo?
While the artist is in the classroom.
And maybe plan their own work or just
yeah.
fly solo
Definitely.
without an artist being there.
Yeah, and the idea is to keep it sustainable down that path.
Yeah.
So when I work with Zach in classroom, for example, I talk from my own point of view.
Yeah.
There are moments where he steps back and I lead and vice versa. And the idea is if that he's not there, I have a set of skills from him that I then use later on to add to my lessons. Yeah, I guess.
And some of the EALD teachers in particular who don't, so keeping in mind some of the people are English teachers and so they don't have drama training. Remember we're just talking about drama today, the project's also about art, dance, music and so on.
Yeah.
But for the drama EALD teachers, there's a couple of them who are now presenting in conferences, EALD conferences, about using drama strategies to support their students. So there's been a really big professional learning component. So absolutely, there's the teachers are now saying, give it to me, I know how to do this now. I don't need the arts.
Well, I have a colleague who's an EALD English teacher, and we have this conversation. She's never had any access with drama, and she has a list of all these drama games. And she's like, today I'm doing this. I'm like, when did you? Like, she's doing it on her own without the artists in the room. So definitely, it's had a big impact, especially the number of years that this has been happening. I think helped us learn.
Yeah, lots of questions. So if you're thinking over time, as you're looking forward and sort of the long-term sustainability, I'm interested to hear some of I'm sure you're in those processes of thinking because the money inevitably does run out. So all those kind of capacity building opportunities for that ongoing support and work for those teachers in terms of keeping networks going, or are you thinking about different ways of where you're looking forward into that?
Well, I guess those two legacy projects are really exciting for us. The fact that our partners are actually going, you know what, we want to keep this going. We're seeing the benefits for us and for the school, so they're great. You know, and Opera Queensland weren't a huge partner to start with, and they've now stepped up. So we're seeing the arts organisations stepping up. So there's a kind of and they're getting the funding themselves. It's not our funding, so they're getting the funding themselves. And I think too, part of the research report is going to have to be, and one of the questions we're actually asking the kids at the end of this project is, if you had a bucket of money and you were the government, how would you spend it? And interestingly, one little girl who spent 2 years in detention on Nauru, she said, I'd spend it by getting the people out of detention. So, you know, a good, all go to her. But most of the kids are saying, you know, that they were given the choice of, you know, buildings or more teacher aides. There's a lot of teacher aides in the school, a lot of money spent on teacher aides. The kids are actually saying that the artists give better value than the teacher aides.
Are the teacher aides participating in the sessions with the students?
When they're present in the room, when they're in the room.
And that was another question I had about the systemic offering. Do you have the principals, the school leaders, everyone coming to those trainings, so everyone's getting that work together? Or?
Yes, and it's mainly classes are sort of identified. And then it's a whole school approach as well, but when people come together on extracurricular opportunities that are created. But when it's about classroom time, it's the teacher and the artist and whoever turns up in class. I have a teacher who looks forward to that coming because she likes the games and we just do it together. So it's a whole school.
So we might hold some questions until we're now going to hear about the artists. So you might actually get a different perspective when we hear from Lil and Natalie, who are going to talk about what's been the impact for the artists perspectives.
So we're, like what Julie said, we're presenting from the artist perspective. So our data includes 9 interviews with 5 artists, and we've just called them Artist A to Artist E, not very imaginative. But some artists were working with teachers in the classroom, and others were working with students in art activities outside the classroom. So like, for example, performing arts club and circus. In order to help frame our findings, what we've done is we've adapted from Bridget Lee's study that analyzes the process of developing partnerships between teaching artists and teachers. And so the 3 areas that we're going to look at are 1, the artist-teacher relationships from the artist perspectives or collaboration, and 2, working from an individual expertise, so between artistry and curriculum pedagogy, and 3, having a shared responsibility for teaching and reciprocal learning between artist and teacher.
So this is a very brief overview of those three subheadings Natalie just introduced. So the artist-teacher relationship is very important, as you can imagine. That collaborative relationship is the basis for a successful outcome in the classroom or in extracurricular activities. Kind and his colleagues suggest that elegant and easy fits happen when artists and teachers work well together and develop meaningful and supportive partnerships. Yet, as Lee admits, the process of developing an equal partnership between the teaching artist and the teacher can sometimes be uncomfortable. However, Cattrall and Waldorf claim that accepting dual perspectives of both artist and teacher, coupled with a love of subject matter, a love of artistic practice, and a love of the students, is a positive basis to begin a relationship between artists and teachers in the classroom, which can also have repercussions for students outside the classroom. Drawing from the Y-Connect artist interviews, we found instances where the artists reflected on this notion of working well with teachers. Artist A: that was a great collaboration. I really enjoyed teaching with the teacher's name. He is excellent. He's excellent. He was very welcoming of my skills, but I also knew how to support him too. You know, we're a really good team.
Artist B also describes her relationship with the teachers involved. The teacher was there throughout and she was great. It was good because we could talk about what the kids had already done and what they needed. She was always there to help out. She would help run the workshops, she would work with the kids if they needed an extra scene partner, and then the other teacher came on board when we needed more hands on deck. They would fill in, and it was great because the teachers were always there when we needed them to pitch in.
So there's a tension there sometimes, I think, between artistry and pedagogy. So working from individual expertise and it needs the communication. Yeah, that constant communication we found between the teacher and the artist. Bernard and Swan acknowledge that there's plenty of evidence demonstrating the unsurprising contrast between the pedagogies, however, of teachers and artists. Further, Kind et al. Suggests that it's necessary to identify questions concerning the artist's role in the teaching environment. This is where the communication strategies have to come in. They intimate that problems may occur when artists are positioned as teachers. Two responses from Y-Connect artists. Artist C: I've never trained as a teacher. I have no teacher education training whatsoever, so I leave that, compiling unit plans, assessment strategies, etc., to the teacher. Artist D: we're not teachers, we're circus trainers. We come to teach stuff, but we can have a friendship with you and be your mates and laugh and have fun, but we can also learn something from you. Artist D's response parallels with Selkirk's findings that while the artist acknowledges that their work was a type of teaching, they seemed reticent to describe themselves as teachers. It points towards the construction of a stereotypical image of being a teacher and suggests that the need to confront these assumptions so as to see teaching as a deeply personal, kind act.
So what's useful is Thompson and Hall's definition that pedagogy is more than teaching method or curriculum and assessment practice. It encompasses relationships, conversations, learning environments, rules, norms, and culture within the wider social context. And we see this valuing of the teacher's expertise from the artist's responses. And artist A said, I really appreciated, I really respected the teacher's way of working because his way of working with the kids was incredible, you know. I really loved how he worked with the kids, the young people. And artist B said, I appreciated how the teachers connected with the students, the level of connection that they had with them, how they talked to them, and building that relationship with the students. And the fact that the students were happy to see the teachers there, giving them the support that builds encouragement, like the teachers would say, oh, that looks awesome, or there's so much improvement. And I think the students really wanted that. They needed that validation from their teachers.
It's also important that the artists feel validated for their expertise. Artist A: I really liked them trusting that we knew what we were doing. Well, obviously they hired us because they thought we had a lot of skills in what we were doing. This sentiment was echoed by both artists B and C, who agreed. The teachers were quite confident in letting us run what we wanted to run. Artist B: the teacher respected my field of expertise and I respected hers as the drama teacher, and knowing that she knew what the unit plans needed to be for the students in that particular class.
And so what we also found was that there has to be a shared responsibility for the teaching and then reciprocal learning can take place. So in order to make the most out of rich opportunities of having artists in schools, it's imperative to recognize both teachers and artists as participants and reciprocal learners. For instance, teachers can develop their own artistic practice through working with artists. As artists be observed, the teacher was always keen to learn from how we would conduct certain exercises, and she would always say, "Oh, I love the way you did this, I'm going to use that in my class." Or, "The way you got them to do something simple is something I feel that I want to bring to my classroom." I think the teacher was very vocal about what she could take away from how we ran the workshops. And Artist C shared a similar observation. Artist C said, "I just went to see a production that the teacher did. There was definitely development in her practice."
Artist A also reflected how she was so happy to drop her plan because she wanted to support the teacher in helping the students meet the curriculum and assessment needs. I had a plan which I didn't end up executing because the teacher communicated to me and I was really happy. The class is her gig, you know. She said, "We need to be heading here," and I went, "Fine, how can I help?" So I just dropped my plan and figured out how I could help her. The artist further commented on how they respected the teacher's classroom management. Artist A said, "Well, in the end, the teacher played the bad cop and that kind of got them into line while I got to teach them the balances, the circus tricks. And he was the lead. He devised the piece and just integrated the bits that I had, the gestures for strength, you know, the acro balances, and it worked, you know. Apparently his colleagues, his drama teacher colleagues from his staff room were just gobsmacked at how we worked." Artist E, some teachers have a different model of behaviour management, and the teacher is really good at keeping it friendly and cool, but saying, "Guys, come on, we need to pull together and do this." That helps me because I don't have to do any behaviour management. I think there's a line there that if I cross over into too much behaviour management, I become the teacher and that's not my role.
And for that particular artist, he also believed that through his ongoing engagement in the project, he's begun to shift his identity from what he saw as the purely artist end of the spectrum to closer in the middle of being an artist teacher. In particular, he feels like he's learning about the teacher's classroom perspectives and how to get the attention of the students. He admits, "I guess when you're an artist, most of the time I'm engaging with people who are professional or students who are excelling in performance and want to do drama. So it's interesting now to have kids who aren't necessarily interested in that same way." So in conclusion, Bruna discusses opposing assumptions and contradictions about teacher and teacher-artist space, and states that it's not easy to find a way through in times of rapid change within this paradoxical pair. It never has come easy at any time, and Kyan and colleagues suggest that we may need to find a better way, a reimagining of the artist-teacher partnerships so that reciprocal learning finds a new way through these sorts of tensions and in-between space.
Deasy and Stevens suggest a third space for collaboration, reflection and discussion needs to be situated in a place of movement and growth between both practices so that teachers and artists' identities are not fixed in either or positioning. Artist C, what I did like about working in Performing Arts Club was we spent a lot of time on actual skills development, physical and vocal skills development. So a lot of the stuff I would have liked to do in the Performing Arts classroom, the drama classroom, we actually had more freedom to do in the Performing Arts Club, which was extracurricular.
Y Connect research is suggesting that artists are actually keen to engage in conversations about their artistry, their expectations, teacher expectations. Through collaborations between teachers and artists, a mutually respectful appreciation of professional expertise develops. The Y Connect project has enabled many artists to share their expertise and experience with both teachers and students. The project has opened up communications and collaborations that are mutually beneficial to encouraging transformation and change in a school that values the importance of developing connections with peers, school, and broader communities through arts learning.
One of the artists sums up her perspective of the Y Connect project. I dreamed of, this was like about 50 years ago, that there would be a high school with so many different people from different cultural heritages, kind of working together and being given a voice and being celebrated and given appropriate resources. This is unbelievable.
So, any questions for Linda?
Do you want to have a quick chat?
Have a quick chat? If you come up with anything you want to know.
Yeah. We probably need to move on to the last section. So if anyone's got any quick questions now, we're happy to answer. Or comments? Yeah, hi.
Hi. I'm just wondering, because my interest is to go in teacher profession, the emergent change, whether there's enough data in this research to show the teacher shift, be it psychological shift or ontological shift because of the experiences working with artists, because if they're working in a different, or they've been trained on a different subject, the way they see knowledge and learning is a bit different from maybe working in the arts. So is there enough data to show that shift?
We haven't finished yet, so perhaps at the end. Yeah.
The project is coming to its conclusion now.
Okay.
So we've done some point-in-time interviews with teachers, but we're doing exit, end of project interviews coming up, a whole one for every teacher.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so there will definitely be some data.
It sounds like you had, and obviously you worked over a long period of time, so your teachers and your artists know each other. How did you manage the initial preparation of both artists and teachers for working out that the role boundaries?
Yeah.
Because teachers are often very resistant to giving up their spaces, and similarly artists find it difficult to go into somebody else's bed. How do you
Just while you're answering it, because sometimes artists are good at these things, but they don't necessarily teach it to somebody else.
Yeah, and that's come up a lot. Yeah. The artists have indicated that they'd like more time to plan with the teachers, and also more time to understand where they need to head to. In a school like Yeronga, it's actually insane. You know, and Adrienne is trying to manage all of these things all at once, and she did take the time to ensure that she did meet and talk to the artists. It's also a school where it's not predictable what's happening in the classroom. So often everything just goes, because of the population that we're working with, both artists and teachers, it's the unpredictability of the space you're actually working in. Dictates actually what you can and can't do sometimes in terms of that communication. But yes, I think the data is definitely showing that we like more communication both ways. And also what's coming up, what's interesting is that the artists would like to talk to other artists who've worked in the schools, not just the teachers.
And Sinas has a comment too.
Yeah, well, the time from the teacher's perspective is also a really big issue, but I also wanted to add, there's one big core sort of value, I guess, at Yeronga, which is about caring for the kids. That even though a lot of teachers might be resistant or coming from a different background of seeing knowledge differently, if they know that that's going to bridge them sort of quicker to the kids, they're kind of.
So that's a school culture.
Yeah, we do have a lot of teachers who just embrace that change. I mean, there are teachers who obviously don't want to see it that way, but it's just that, I guess, bridging to the kids that develops that or strengthens that sort of link with the artist, because they're ready to try what they can to make those bonds happen.
And look, some artists didn't work.
Yes.
They didn't work. Not every artist was a hit.
Yeah.
There was a couple of artists that came in, and pretty much it was obvious from the start that this was a gig that they could do to make some money, and they didn't have the interests of the kids at heart. They didn't last. And that's one of the reasons why Zach's name comes up all the time, because one of the key findings of the project is that long-term engagement of one or two key artists supplemented by some others. So, you know, it's been really important to have that long-term commitment of the artists and long-term partnerships. And so a lot of those messy kind of beginning bits got ironed out over time as teachers learned who was a good match for them and who wasn't. And that wasn't just in drama, that happened in dance a lot, it happened in music, it happened in visual art. So different people didn't match other people. So
you have some that children sort of ate the artist alive, where they just really
some of the children actually ate me alive. So,
They're pretty good at eating us all alive, I think.
There was a couple of weeks there where Adriana Jones and I, between us, we've probably been teaching drama for, I don't know, 60 or 70 years, and we'd come out and go, what did we just do? That was terrible. And we'd sit there and think, what are we doing wrong? We eventually worked it out. It was cultural and it was language-based. It took us a long time to work out how to do it. So people like Sanaz, who works there every day, the challenge of these diverse, culturally, challenging, and kids with some significant issues. Children who've been, there's a young woman who's been burned in a refugee camp, and the traumatic stories, of course, create some kind of quite explosive moments. So we better move to the kids. We don't want to leave them out. So.
I'm glad to hear you say it, though, Julie.
Pardon?
I'm glad you still have those like me.
What is exciting is that the data has longitude, and also so many studies in drama are short case studies, so we're going to get some rich findings in terms of actual learning.
Yeah. And I don't know that the quant stuff's going to reveal anything at all. I'm going to put that out there.
What quant are you using? Are you using like pre-post, teach yourself out there?
We're only using pre-post for kids.
Okay.
We're not using pre-post for teachers.
Okay.
So, but we've done a survey. It's about well-being, connection, belonging. Penny's going to talk about that.
Yes.
So, all right. So let's talk about the students' perspectives. So in our final section, we'll focus on the key question of the study, because actually that's what we got funded for. We didn't get funded to study the artists. We didn't get funded to study the research, the teachers. We got funded to study the kids and to see what the impact would be. So let's focus on them. What I'm sharing with you today, and Penny and I are sharing, is about case studies 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Note our bias, which is only one case study doesn't have drama in it. So we came up with two categories emerged so far from the kids' data, not counting the survey. So this is just from interviews. We've done literally hundreds of interviews with kids, so there's a lot of transcription and a lot of analysis still to go. But the two main things we found was that there were characteristics of Y-Connect pedagogies, and these pedagogies are unique. They're the pedagogies of partnership, so they're not artist pedagogies, but they're anytime artists and teachers would, so they're the Y-Connect pedagogies. And Penny's going to be talking about this very important dot point, the impact of the work on the students. So I'm just going to talk about the pedagogies and what the kids are saying about the pedagogies. So just quickly, to talk about what we mean by pedagogies, most people in the room would understand that it's a highly contested term. What do we mean by pedagogy? Should it be singular or plural? Is it pedagogy or pedagogies? People sometimes call it the art and science of teaching, but clearly that's a problematic definition. And even more simplistic is the notion that I sometimes hear that pedagogies are teaching strategies that we learn to teach. Pedagogies is so much more than that. So Watkins and Mortimer define the term as any conscious activity by one person designed to enhance the learning of the other. So we quite like that as a notion because it takes pedagogy out of being something simply that teachers do, and it puts it in the hands of educators who also include artists. And so in our study, this is an important point, that the artists and teachers are working in partnership. So we also are interested by the notion of relational pedagogies, and that pedagogies are in fact generated in the moment by the relationship between the teacher and the learner. And according to Brooker, in this definition, relational pedagogies are actually about the relationships in the classroom between children and friends and classmates and professional educators, and in this case, artists as well. And another notion by these researchers, and I can't pronounce that first researcher's name, but they talk about collective construction, that learners and teachers and artists co-create pedagogy within a community of learners. And for us, this notion of co-creating patterns of classroom interaction is quite important. So what did the kids say? So these are the characteristics that we've pulled out of all of these interviews of what the young people are saying Y-Connect looks like. When they're describing it, these are the qualities or the characteristics of those pedagogies. That they're active, that they have opportunities for the young people to have agency, that there's collaboration, encouragement, energy. They talk about when the artist is there with the teacher, the energy in the room just explodes. that there's embodied, they're out of their chairs, they're working, that there's high engagement, that they get to interact, that there's an openness to new possibilities, that they have the chance for peer learning, that through role they get this important opportunity to take on new perspectives, that problems are worked out in action, that there's a sense of professionalism, which is very interesting, that there's a supportive environment, and that there is a notion of the importance of public outcomes. And when we mean public outcomes, we don't mean public outcomes to an extended audience, but we're talking about public outcomes being sharing with other kids and other parts of the school. So let's just take a few of these and talk about some of the things the kids said about them. We don't have time to do the theory of all of those, but one of my favourite quotes happened just the other day. I was interviewing a student and he called the pedagogies, he didn't use the word pedagogies, he said, how would you describe the learning? And he said, it's revolutionary. And he was a boy recently arrived from Tibet, which isn't one of the countries we had on our list, but the list of countries keeps growing. And what he thought was revolutionary was that the teacher seemed to arrive without a lesson plan. It was the artist. The artist was working off their ideas and off their responses, and so this young man thought that that was revolutionary. So what are some of the kids said about active? So it's one of the most common things the kids say. For example, one noted, in our English classrooms, we don't go out and do stuff like we do when we're doing drama, and sometimes there's just no way to imaginate stuff, because you're only going to be sitting in your chair and doing writing. It's just not going to help you think. So he was comparing his normal English class. Another noted that the drama work was beneficial because we're doing most of the work, we're doing the activities, we're doing the most, and surely that's the point, this young person said. Collaboration is another frequent theme that emerges. So one student says, in a normal class it's individual work, you individually write. But the artist, he might put you in groups and he lets you choose your groups. So it's better than a normal class, it's more social. Another focused on the value of teamwork by suggesting, you know, we never used to work with everyone. So there's quite a lot of cultural groupings in the classroom. I used to work with my friends or people from my country. But with the artist, we have to work with people we don't really want to work with. So I learned that teamwork. Students also noted collaboration, as we've heard, between artists and teachers. And one Year 12 student noted, I reckon they, you know, the artists and the teachers, they pick up from each other, like a partnership of how to work with us and help us. Because they all want us to be the best and do the best we can. I see that through all the teachers and all the artists that come and work with us, working with each other, helping each other with the things. All those artists, you know, they come from industry, so they help fill in the gaps in the puzzle to help us become well-rounded people. Beautiful. Encouragement. The kids are talking about that there's an encouraging environment created by the artists and that there's an energy and excitement. Two girls told us having an artist in the classroom always brings our spirits up, while another noticed that lessons felt more exciting when there was an artist in the classroom. Following a performance by some of our EALD English students, one boy was overflowing with excitement. It was amazing, miss. I can't even wait to see my video because I can't see myself because I'm not two people. So I want to see what I did. I'm really proud of what I did, miss. I memorised all the paper. I didn't use any notes and nobody else except me did that. Embodied. A comment from one of the students sums up the embodied nature of the learning. Here you have more freedom. In other classes it's listen and learn, but here it's do, learn, have fun. Drama could be the funnest way to learn. And another student from the circus group noted that being a part of circus made me want to come to school every Wednesday. Only on Wednesdays? Openness to new possibilities. The students talked a lot about this fact that working in Y Connect classrooms seemed to give them a sense of openness. For example, one noted that most of the time the teachers are less open-minded. they're taught to teach like that, I think. So they kind of stick to the book, give you the criteria, make you do the work, and that's it. You don't go to a deeper level. The Y Connect programs gives you the learning, in more of a physical, more a deeper side of things. Whereas regular teachers just use basic knowledge, writing. On the same topic, this following interview is revealing. The student says, when you have artists in here, it's fun, but you also understand better because your mind is more open. With this, your mind is open and you're willing to do it. Nobody's forcing you. So the interviewer pushed a little bit harder and said, what do you mean by this? How are artists different? And the girl responded, the artists are, flamboyant. Clearly not an EALD student. They're just so, loose. While teachers can be loose too, but they're more structured and stuff. Or maybe the artists are just more open-minded, more open to, more creative. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So perspective taking through role. And I'm going to move on very quickly. So the students talked a lot about the fact that working through drama gave them different perspectives. So in one interview with students from Tanzania, Sudan, Ethiopia, China, Iran, Kenya, all in the one interview, they talked about how their work with the actor helped them work on a novel. They said, the actor gave us more of a clue about what the characters might think or do. Instead of just reading the book and reading what the book's saying, you can act and just try to feel what the character is going through. There are millions of comments like that. So this probably sums it up in terms of that, what's different about the actor or having an artist. A student says, well, it's just less of students sitting by themselves and trying to think about what they're going to write. Yeah, said another, more teamwork. Another one said, more confident, engaging with other people. It's about the artist bringing energy. And finally, the last one I'm going to talk about is professionalism. The students call the artists hardcore. They're hardcore. They're used to working with adults. And so they don't take that shit from us. They're hardcore adults and they're used to working in professional theatre. And so they don't take that kind of more caring. One student said to me, the teachers are really caring. The teachers really care about us. The artists care about the result. Very interesting. So, one student said, they've been working with people in industry and I've learned from them and I've become, working with the artists has put a bit of fire in me to work hard and actually complete all my studies and graduate so I can find my own journey through that. And the very last thing, which I won't read you a quote about, is the students said that working with Y Connect pedagogies gave them the chance to relax while they learn. Thank you. Penny's now going to talk about the outcomes.
I was going to start with a short section of theory, which I've just done like the keynote and we haven't got time. I think it's more important that we hear what the young people were saying. I've analysed their interview data and the headings that I've then grouped what I was seeing in that data about them as learners, how it's impacted on them as learners, an enhanced perception of their possible future pathways, an enhanced sense of agency or self-efficacy, a notion of possible selves that I'll talk about, skill development, enhanced cognitive awareness or shifts in understanding, experiencing connectedness and belonging, increased confidence, the requirement for and recognition of courage, the experience of pleasure, an expanded capacity for empathy, and experiencing pride. I'm just going to take each one of those and quickly give you a quote that illustrates that point. It's not the only quote that could, but it's that time, the clock. So the first one, an enhanced perception of possible future pathways. One student said, well, definitely last year I've been asked a question, like, what would you like to do after high school? And I'm like, I don't know. So let me have a think about it. Well, once I got into drama and I got to know good people and find something I'm good at, it gave me the inspiration to do further and learn more about just reaching greatness. Enhanced sense of agency. We've included agency as a characteristic of the pedagogy. It's also recognisable in the student interview data about the impact on them as learners. They spoke about realising that they could do more than they thought they could, learning that everybody is good at something, and about the impact of believing in yourself and of others believing in you. A typical comment, I don't really know, but I think I'm going to get a good grade because it's been fun in drama and it really helps me. So I think I'm going to get a great mark. Another said, yeah, I didn't trust myself in doing everything, but now I trust myself because when I bring up something, like how I was bringing up something that we can do in the drama, and it's come up a good thing, and I feel like the leader of the group, the little group, and because I'm the leader, I have to bring up something, and I try to think and bring up something, and I find it works. Possible selves. There's an overlap between an enhanced sense of agency and possible selves. Marcus Aurelius defined possible selves as the ideal selves that we would very much like to become. They're also the selves we could become and the selves we're afraid of becoming. Importantly, that they point out that it's the experienced meanings that are important. More recently, Erickson extended that definition to suggest that possible selves are conceptions of ourselves in a future, including, at least to some degree, an experience of being an agent in a future situation. Within this extended definition, he also highlights the fact that possible selves are constructed through the interplay with self-concept and the social and cultural context. So, significantly, I include in this category the numerous responses from students across the cases where they claimed that they'd learned that they could do more than they thought they could. They were seeing themselves as more confident and more capable. Not only did they experience success, but other people, students, artists and teachers acknowledged their achievements. Their sense of achievement was then carried forward into other tasks that they were willing to attempt. One student said, but it's a skill, like an avenue I haven't really considered. Like I've considered directing already, and I've considered acting. I've considered all different kinds of stuff, but writing specifically, like I've done it, but I haven't really pushed it. And then this is what I'm good at. I'll keep going. Skill development. Again, comments regarding enhanced skill development emerged across the cases. EALD students recognised that they learned new words and pronunciations. They commented on improved speech, writing, academic results, presentation and teamwork skills. They spoke about an improved ability to respond to assessment tasks. Enhanced cognitive awareness and shifts in understanding. Students' comments indicated to us that across the project, engagement in Y Connect drama activities had contributed to this. Some of their comments, I'll just read you one. It just helps you understand the play or whatever you're doing on a deeper level. Because of just sitting there reading it, like a regular English class, you get engaged and you dig deep into the characters and the physical actions, and it makes you understand it better. Experiencing connectedness and belonging. Some students' comments regarding this include, but I definitely know that last year, a definite positive from Y Connect was that we got to know each other better. And I said, it was the first time I performed. I learned how to talk to other people and connect with them. Because when I was new in school, I used to sit by myself and not talking to another person. But after Y Connect, it helped me to connect to other people, learn new things. Increased confidence. Across the project, students, particularly those from refugee backgrounds, spoke about their shyness and the way participation had helped them overcome or reduce this. I'm way more confident. I'm not as shy when I get up on stage, and I look at people now. And another said, And before I used to have stage fright and I wasn't even confident that I could do anything, but now I am. They also spoke about helping others and how that raised their confidence. You gain confidence from helping others. And how an increase in confidence impacted on their sense of self-efficacy. Discussing what she had learned in the project, one student said that sharing, that me telling my ideas might be worth listening to. The requirement for and recognition of courage. I put this in because there was something that Julie and I both thought was a wonderful comment that one young person went, and they said, it's actually better than sport. Asked why, they said, well, because like you perform 1,000 people, you be brave. But in sport, you just go there and have fun and do it. You don't have to be brave or anything, but like drama makes you brave. The experience of pleasure. This is an area that I feel as researchers we need to delve into further to really understand what the young people are telling us. Many of the young people continually refer to their experiences as fun. However, many have limited English to fully explain what they mean when they use this term. One student who had talked about fun and had said that they loved it was asked why. The response was, because acting makes me feel like me. I think that's a much more complex answer than what we might take fun to be. Expanding capacity for empathy. Participation in the project offers students opportunities to learn about each other and themselves. They gained a deeper understanding of how the characters in the texts they created or explored were thinking and feeling, and commented on how this increased their understanding and empathy towards them. They recognised the strengths and skills of others that they previously not noticed. And I think the final one, experiencing pride and a sense of achievement, I'd chosen a similar quote to one that Julie used, where feeling that you're just amazing and you want to watch the video to see yourself be amazing. So that, very quickly, I did it in the time.
So we've got like the great total of 5 minutes left. So has anyone got any final questions?
I don't think we've really got 5 to it.
Does anyone have any final questions, comments, reflections?
Some people may have written questions earlier that they want to come back.
Any comments, questions? Yeah.
Just with all of those wonderful reflections from the students on how amazing artists were there any reflections that were seeing their teachers in a new light, or what, I guess, what,
Yes, there
any tension between?
Yeah, I remember one girl saying, and it showed again the partnership when it works, when teachers actually are working alongside the artists, and the students actually said, we really love seeing our teacher like learning with us. Yeah, I think that was one comment that really stood out to me in terms of the students actually seeing their teacher letting go and being a student as well.
Yeah. And I guess in terms of negatives, we didn't give any negatives. The only negatives we've got in the data is the students saying they get a little anxious that they're not spending time working on their assessment. So the time with the artist is taking time. These are, very aspirational young people. They're in a hurry to change their future, and so there's a little concern that if they spend too much time working with the artist and enjoying learning, they see that they're learning, but you can push them a little bit hard and say, well, do you feel a little anxious about anything? And that's what they give you. They give you that they're a bit afraid that it's time that they won't get to do on their assessment.
And that's why some of the artists said they'd like to have more time with teachers to be able to work out what they can do to support the students on their assessment trajectory.
Do they plan together, the teachers and the artists? I assume? Is that
Look, they do, but sometimes, in the madness of a school, there's lots of plans, things get emailed back and forth.
I just wanted to add, Zach, every weekend, I have never had a weekend because we have a session on Monday. He always emails me. If I forget, he always initiates. Do you want me to bring anything tomorrow? Is there anything we can? So there is collaboration, but at school things run really fast.
Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy school.
Yeah.
You touched at the beginning about about that idea of which you said about the teachers who are concerned that having a person in the room takes away from the devalues the teacher in some way. Did you have teachers that had that feeling within your project, or did that come from other teachers in the school who weren't on the project?
So that I found in literature when I was reading about what artists and teachers' relationships were like. But I guess in our school, from my perspective, and please correct me if I think that it all depended on, again, the personal relationship between the artist and the teacher. There has been sort of partnerships that didn't really work, but if it clicks, it never is seen as, oh, he's here to take away from my skills, or oh my god, I don't know how to do this, because the relationship, when it clicks, it's just collaborative, and we do it together. And I, for example, myself, I want to sort of really embrace and be in the process with him, so I'm just jumping up and down with the artist. But there might be teachers who might sort of go, well, I need to know beforehand what this is going to look like, and can we talk about it, so they quickly plan on the go. But I guess the only relationship that wasn't successful would be if the artist and the teacher wouldn't click to cooperate. That would be the only.
Did some teachers not decline to be involved in the project?
Yeah, and can I say, I think we started with teachers who were more keen in the beginning to have this happen.
They self-selected? So they
self-selected. They volunteered.
And interestingly, when you ask the kids, you know, could one day artists take over from teachers? They go, oh, hell no. No way. You know, they actually go, we need the teachers. We need the teachers there. They're the ones that are going to get us over the line. The artists, and I used to say to them in interviews, so about how many times a term would you need an artist? And they go, oh, maybe come in a couple of times a week for a few weeks, and that's it. We don't want them in the room all the time. We want the teachers. So there's no, and the teachers are aware of this. You know, we're constantly, when I'm kind of in the staff room talking to teachers and stuff, I'm constantly saying to them, don't worry, your jobs aren't at risk here, because the kids really value you, and they are truly valuing the partnership. But the kids are just saying, and I think it comes through in the data, there's energy, there's an energy. If the artist was there all the time, it would just become normal. So it's about this injection of energy that comes in, and the kids also say in the data, we didn't get to it, but they go, those artists are hopeless at behaviour management. Someone needs to teach them how to manage a class. So the kids are kind of a bit disturbed by the fact that the artists have got no idea how to manage behaviour, except for the hardcore ones. So,
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Well done, team.